Well, it was jolly reshuffling weather and a hay-harvest breeze as a Wycomist reappointed an Old Etonian. So, having had a year's gap without an Old Etonian in the Cabinet, we've got one back again, which reminds me of 1963, when Sir Alec Douglas-Home resigned his peerage and went in to the House of Commons as Prime Minister. That was the last time that a system worked where you used the Lords and the Commons to make sure you got the right person in the right place. Though the last person to be Foreign Secretary from the Lords was, of course, Lord Carrington in 1982. He resigned over the Falklands. So Cameron's come in. But actually, all of this is about Suella Braverman. The key is not so much David Cameron coming in, because elections aren't won or lost on foreign policy. They're won or lost on domestic policy. And getting rid of Suella, to my mind, was a mistake by the Prime Minister. Why? Well, because she had her finger on the pulse of what voters were thinking. It's not to say that sometimes she may have phrased herself infelicitously. She certainly went further than some were comfortable with, and certainly the Prime Minister was a bit squeamish about. But much of the electorate were very concerned about the marches. A YouGov poll showed half of the public believed the marches should be banned. And we know that voters are concerned by migration. So these two things, marches, law and order, and migration, are what Suella has been sacked for following Conservative Party principles and policy and manifesto commitments, but doing it just a little bit too loudly for the refined taste and sensitivities of the Prime Minister. She was in favour of controlled migration and robust enforcement of the law. If that's not Tory party policy, what does the Tory party actually stand for? So, again and again, we've promised to reduce legal migration. David Cameron, Lord Cameron, not Lord David Cameron, just for the sake of accuracy. He is not the son of a duke or a marquis, but nonetheless, he is the new Foreign Secretary, promised to bring down immigration from the hundreds to the tens of thousands, and he did that prior to the election of 2010. Now, I know Rishi Sunak wants us all to do maths until we're about 175, but net migration last year was at a record high of 606,000, a little bit above the tens of thousands. And Suella was willing to take on the Treasury orthodoxy that had led to this increase in migration, with their fallacious view that it was GDP that matters rather than GDP per capita. And clearly the Prime Minister is still in the grips of the Treasury orthodoxy. Suella also recognised that if we're to stop illegal migration following the Supreme Court judgment that we will get on Wednesday, we may have to leave the ECHR. And you have to wonder whether Rishi's willing to do that. And the now appointed Home Secretary, former Foreign Secretary, James Cleverly, has stated publicly that he doesn't want to leave the ECHR. So how do we deal with illegal migration when we've got a 39-section instruction from the ECHR telling us we can't get rid of people, even if our own courts rule in favour of it, with a Home Secretary who's not in favour of resigning from the ECHR? And he's got a Foreign Secretary in David Cameron who's also a committed European. So we have a situation where the government no longer appears to be serious about tackling legal or illegal migration, and that is a major concern of voters. Conservative policies followed by Suella are popular, and the decision made by Prime Minister to get rid of her seems to me not to be popular, and a shift to the left. The Tory party conference, the Prime Minister declared himself the candidate of change. But today's change, perhaps rather splendidly, perhaps in a rather Tory way, has really been the deification of the status quo, or possibly a return to the status quo ante.